Hi, I'm Debbie Pokornik, and I am doing some videos for moms this week. It can actually be shared with dads as well, in honor of Mother's Day. And I did the first one as a Facebook Live, and when I went to watch it back, it was all broken up, a whole bunch of problems, probably from my internet bandwidth. So I am trying to re-record it in a different way that might be a little bit easier for people to watch. So if this works, then it is probably the better version for you to watch. Anyway, my name is Debbie Pokornik. I run a company called Empowering Energy, and I have a podcast called Vibrant Powerful Moms. And this month I decided that in honor of Mother's Day, because I think that moms really deserve to be fully appreciated and recognized for all that they do. So in honor of Mother's Day, I decided to make it Mother's Day Marathon Month. And that means that I am interviewing four wonderful women who talk about how to be the best mom that you can possibly be, and to do it in a way that helps you to feel supported, not like you're not measuring up or like you're not doing enough. I decided that maybe I needed to do even more than that. So I created an online gift basket for moms, and I put it up on my website, which you will see. There should be a description here somewhere. I'm not sure now because of the way I'm recording it. But anyways, I will for sure put up links to that Mother's Day package that you can get, or you can just go to my website at Empowering Energy, that's three letters, NRG.com, and right on the right hand side you will see a heart that says Mother's Day gift, and if you click it you can sign up and receive access to all this free information. So there's cheat sheets and audios and ebooks and infographics. Just take what you need, those pieces that pique your interest. If it all piques your interest, take it all. It's completely up to you. It will be up there for the month of May, and the idea is for it to reach as many moms as possible, because I really feel that we're doing an important job and we deserve to be supported in that job. So in line with this, I decided that this week I would do a Facebook Live every day. And now that I know Facebook Live isn't my best friend, I might do it as a recording, but do take a look on my um, Facebook page, which is also Empowering NRG, three letters, NRG, and you will find the videos all posted there. So that's where you can go and interact and comment and, share and everything. All right. So feel free to check those out. And today I want to talk about discipline, the difference between discipline and punishment, and give you a tool that you can use to help you know which one you might be using and to guide you in that, to make it easier for you to choose, because it is hard for us to use discipline when we've been raised in a punishment model. Tomorrow, I want to talk about the topic of yelling, because this is a problem, I think, for a lot of us. And it's frustrating because when you say that you're not going to yell, you're not going to use a certain tool, and then you find yourself using it, it can be really hard not to come down on yourself. So I'm going to talk about yelling and give you a few ideas of things that you can do to help make it easier for you not to yell if you don't want to yell. And if you choose to yell, that's fine, but at least you'll understand it a little bit more and you can actually use it more effectively when you understand why you're using it. On Wednesday, I want to talk about sibling rivalry, because really this isn't about kids, our own kids, fighting as much as it is about an opportunity for our kids to learn how to work things out with their peers. So even if you only have one child, it's still important that they learn how to use their disagreements with others to work through things. It's part of their training ground. All right. It's their internship, if you will. And so I really want parents to understand why, if their kids are fighting, it is not the end of the world. It does not mean that they're a terrible person, a terrible parent, or that their kids are little monsters. What it does mean is that they have an opportunity here for their kids to really benefit and really learn if they handle it the right way. And a very important part of that is I want to make this easier for you. the parent. Because once you understand it, once you really fully accept your role in it, it can become so much easier. And so I hope to provide you with that information on Wednesday. And then Thursday, I want to talk about resiliency. I've talked about this before in a Facebook Live. I talk about it on my podcast. It comes up all the time when I'm a guest on other people's shows. And part of the reason for that is because resiliency is our ability to understand that we can handle whatever life throws our way. It is what makes us bulletproof. And so it helps to eliminate fear. You can't feel super resilient and be super afraid at the same time, because the two things kind of cancel each other out. It doesn't mean, like, if you were going to bungee jump, for example, you're going to be really scared probably if you've never done it before, and you don't know what else is going to happen. But you still might believe in yourself. I know I can do this. I believe in the cord. I've watched all these other people jump. I'm going to be fine. So it doesn't completely eliminate fear. All right. You still will feel nervous when you're going to bungee jump, but it can make you believe in yourself so much more. So let me talk about that more on Thursday when I'm supposed to be talking about it. And then finally on Friday, I want to talk about bullying. And specifically there, I'm focusing in on understanding what what is a healthy viewpoint of bullying? How do we really use this information, this knowledge, this situation that's happening to maybe our child, or maybe it's even happening to you, to really help develop strong skills and help them to stand up for themselves in a way that is going to work for them? Because it sure doesn't work for us to just step into protector mode and, kind of push our child behind us. Get behind me, honey, I'll save you. Because then when you're not there, what the heck are they going to do? So those are my planned topics at this point. I hope to do these every day, but if this video doesn't work out, then we'll see, because it's a lot of work for it not working. So today I want to talk about discipline. Now, discipline is a topic that's very near and dear to me. It's really misunderstood by a lot of people. They just use it kind of interchangeably with the topic of punishment. So whether they're punishing their child, they might say, well, I had to discipline him. And what they really mean is I had to punish him. And they don't understand the difference. Now, in the podcast that I did on this topic, which I don't think I've told you about yet, I shared it in Facebook Live. I've done two podcasts, one on the difference between discipline and punishment, and the other on 5 little known secrets about discipline, that if you don't know these secrets, it can make it really hard to use discipline. So I really recommend that you listen to both of those if you haven't already, because they can help you to understand it better. And I'm not going to cover the same topic. When you go to my mom's gift page and download the discipline punishment questions, which I'm going to talk about today, you will see that the 2 podcast addresses are right there on that page. I will also put them on that mom's gift page. So you'll be able to find it, or go to my website, empoweringenergy.com, click on podcast, scroll down a little bit, and you'll find a widget there. And that widget has all my podcasts. The 2 discipline podcasts were in April. They're 2 weeks apart because there's an interview in the middle of them, but they're both in April. And so you can listen to that to understand the big overall differences behind discipline and get some tips to help you. Today, first, I just want to say that the main idea, the main difference behind discipline and punishment is that punishment is meant to get your child to do what you are telling them to do. So it is meant to get compliance. And I'm going to use a stronger word, really. It's used to force compliance. So when you punish, you're telling somebody, when you behave this way, there's going to be these kind of consequences because I don't want you to do that. All right? So the message there is often one of don't get caught. And when you think about it, we're in a very strong punishment model in our society right now. Our school system uses punishment, our judicial system uses punishment, and all of law enforcement. It's common for all of us. Our families mostly use punishment. So when you threaten to take something away or to spank, or where you do hit them to get them to comply, or where you remove privileges, all of those things can easily fall into the punishment model, especially if you don't know how to do them differently. Okay? The discipline model is one that's about guiding a person towards making good decisions in life. So you're trying to teach them how to make decisions, how to weigh out the consequences. Are you able to live with those consequences? So it's not about forcing them to have a certain opinion or forcing them to do things in a certain way, to sit at their desk, to be quiet, to keep their hands to themselves, to listen. It's not about forcing that. It is about providing them with guidance and then allowing them to make their own decision. So there's a ton of value in using discipline because you really are teaching your child how to think, not just what to think, which is one of Barbara Coloroso's big things in her book, Kids Are Worth It. She talks about the difference between teaching a child how to think and what to think. We want our kids to be able to think for themselves, whether we're there or not. And so that's really one of the big differences, and one of the reasons that punishment isn't very effective is because people tend to listen. Like, let me give you an example of speeding, right? If you know for sure there's no cops around and you're in a hurry to get somewhere, you're probably going to speed, right? Now, if you really understand why speeding is unsafe, maybe you've lost someone in an accident due to speeding, maybe you work for a corporation that handles the claims and you've seen the people in the hospital, for whatever reason, if you really understand why speeding isn't safe, then it doesn't matter if there's police around or not. You're not going to speed, or at least not excessively speed, because you want to be safe, right? So punishment, you need to have the police officer around, somebody who is going to catch you doing it wrong in order for it to be effective for you. When you really understand it with discipline, then you're not going to do it because you get it. It's wrong. It's dangerous. It's not just that it's right or wrong. That's really not what it comes down to. But you're not willing to pay that consequence for the couple minutes that it would save you. All right? So those are the main differences between discipline and punishment. And the whole idea of this show today is to help you understand that if you really truly want to guide your child towards being successful in life, then you're best off to use discipline at least the majority of the time. Because when you help somebody to learn how to think for themselves, you also can help them to become more self-disciplined. And these are the things we need in order to eat healthy, to get enough sleep, to look after ourselves properly, to not overindulge all the time. The self-discipline is what allows us to do that. And so you're just giving such a big gift to someone when you help them to access their own ability to connect with their self-discipline. All right. So check out the podcast if you want more information on the difference between the two, if you're fuzzy on them still. And for right now, I want to just share one of my stories that from what I experienced when my kids were younger. And then I'm going to share a tool that you can use to help you differentiate which one you're using and decide where you want to go with that. Okay. So back about 25 years ago, I was pregnant with my first child. And I was attending university at the time, getting my social work degree. And so I was being asked a lot of questions about the kind of mom I was going to be, if I was going to spank my child, and all of many other questions. But for today, what's most relevant is whether or not I was going to spank. Now, I knew right away that I didn't want to spank my child. But the more I thought about it, the more I realized, what do I do then? How do I gain compliance from my child? How do I get them to work with me? And, so it really got me thinking. It really helped me to start becoming aware of the kind of mom I wanted to be and the kind of mom I had kind of been trained to be. Now, just a quick little aside, but very important one, is that my parents are beautiful people who are not about hitting and hurting or anything, but they had been raised that spanking was a parenting tool and that you used it to keep your kids under control. And so they would threaten to spank. All right. And I knew I didn't even want to threaten to spank. And you know what's really interesting is they're such sweet, wonderful people, but they also used humiliation. They tied that in there. Do you want me to pull your pants down right here and give you a spanking? And yeah, that just amazes me when I think about it. But that's what they had been taught to do. And so that was the tool that you used to gain compliance. And it was very important that your kids learned to listen and that, you had the authority, you had the final word, and that you could tell them what to do. But the problem is often it wasn't teaching the child what you thought it was teaching. And I have other stories I could share of my own memories. Not that I was spanked a lot ever, but I have memories where I got threatened to be spanked for doing things and I still didn't understand what I had done wrong. So I couldn't guarantee I wasn't going to do it again because I really didn't know for sure what I had done that was the problem. So you can see how that doesn't work well. Okay, so there I was. Now I'm in my 20s, I'm in university, and I'm pregnant with my child, and I don't want to spank, so what do I do? Well, the tool that was being put out at the time as the answer was a timeout. And I thought, okay, so how do I learn more about the timeout? So I started to research and find what I could. Now, on the bookshelves in the libraries and such, there was not a lot of parenting tools. We didn't have high-speed internet at the time. We had dial-up, but it took a long time to even go on the internet, so rarely did you go on there to search things. And so the books that we had on parenting that I was able to find were ones like Faber and Maslish, How to Talk So Kids Will Listen. Excellent book, still going strong, and it's timeless. It'll never run out, no longer be valid because it's such good information. Barbara Colarosa's Kids Are Worth It, again, super great book. And then Stephen Covey's work, which at the time I think it was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People that I read first, and then later found 7 Habits of Highly Effective Families, both of which I highly recommend. So these books, these resources helped me to learn stuff, but they didn't explain timeouts. And I thought, well, how do I learn how to use this? So eventually I took some courses. It started me on the whole road to parent education, so I can thank it for that. But it also started me searching for how do I do this? And so it was explained to me, well, basically, when your child misbehaves, you take them, remove them from whatever they're doing, whatever fun they're having, and you have them be by themselves for a certain amount of time, which back then they would often say the age, right? So the age times a minute. So if they're 2 minutes, they sit in timeout. So in theory, it made sense to me. I thought, okay, well, I can do that. It's certainly better than hitting my child. Well, the reason I share this story is because what ended up happening was my little 2-year-old, when he got to that stage, um, he's a negotiator, it turns out. He negotiated his birth, so I kind of already knew he was a negotiator, but he just was always negotiating with anybody about anything. He really wasn't verbal, which is interesting, right? He would make his own little signs up, like little sign language, which baby sign language wasn't a thing then, which is funny because I was trained in sign language, so I could have easily used that. But he made up his own little signs and we used them, and then he had a few words and that was it. But he rarely would listen and do what I wanted him to do. And what I found was that I was often picking him up, taking him over, you're in timeout now, and I'd set him down on a little stool in the corner, and then I'd set the timer and I'd walk away and I'd be in a huff and I'd be all big and poofed up, which means that my emotions were fully in charge. And my little 2-year-old would maybe sit there or maybe not. And if he didn't listen, I would get even madder and I would go, get over there and you stay there and you have your time out. And one day, he's 2 years old, it's 10 o'clock in the morning, and he's been in timeout a dozen times. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? This tool doesn't work. And all of a sudden I realized, oh my gosh, this tool doesn't work. I was trying to use timeout like a spanking. Do as I say because I'm telling you to do it, and do it now. That was how I was feeling. And so what happened, is I was able to take a step back and go, I wonder what could work instead. And on that particular day, I think I ended up having him come and sit and cuddle with me, and we read some stories, and on we went with our day. He just, wanted attention and didn't want to do whatever it was I was asking him to do, which I can't even remember what it was at the time. So I share that with you so that you can see how timeout is not a good replacement for something like spanking. And what happened is when people started to decide that spanking wasn't good, and I'll be honest, I chose not to spank my kids and I never did spank my kids. And I don't think I ever will now because, they're 24 and 21 and that would be weird. But the point is that it was a lot of hard work because this this tool of timeout is kind of like a screwdriver, where spanking is like a hammer. You have to learn a whole different way to build with a screwdriver. I mean, you can take it and turn it around and try to just hammer in the nail with the end of the screwdriver, probably break the screwdriver. And that's kind of what I was doing with my son, is I was trying to use timeout as a direct replacement for spanking because I just didn't know what else to do. So when you start to see it that way, you start to realize that really discipline is more a mindset. There isn't a list of tools that I could say are discipline tools. There's tools that'll be easier. And I actually figured out how to use timeout in a way that was very effective, that helped my kids recognize when they needed that moment to calm themselves down. That was one of the reasons it didn't really work with my older child, is he rarely was throwing a fit. He just wasn't listening to me. Whereas my second child was a very quick and hot-tempered child. And so with him, timeouts actually worked for him to take a moment and calm down when he needed that time. And he will still take a timeout now voluntarily. He'll say, you know what, I just need a timeout. And he'll take his time. And my husband and I both would model that as well, because we recognized there was definitely times where we needed the timeout. So there are ways to use timeout effectively. I'm not saying that's a terrible tool, although I will admit that one of the people that I just had on my show, Randy Rubenstein, she is a parenting expert as well. And she's now raising that next generation of kids. And she mentioned that, it's not a bad tool like timeout is. so already timeout has now been put in that place of it's not okay. And I remember when the attachment theory people came out and started talking about attachment, and that timeout went right against that. And here's the thing, any tool can be used, can be manipulated to be used more in a punitive way than in a disciplined way. So it's not about the tools. It is about the mindset. And I believe I explained that quite well in the podcast. So if you're not fully with me there, take a listen to the podcast, and I think it will help to explain it. So that is the main idea behind why, okay, let me say that again. So that is the mindset shift that you kind of need to have in order to use discipline on a regular basis. And then you just need to remember that you've been raised in a punishment model. So you're going to naturally pick up the hammer without even thinking about it when you're really aroused, when you're really upset about something or frustrated. That's going to be natural for you. And the more you start to tune into when you're using it, the easier it will be for you to choose to pick up the screwdriver or any other tool that happens to be in your toolbox. So let me share some of the questions that I created for a cheat sheet, all right, that is on that Mother's Day gift page. So you can use these questions to help you know which side you're kind of on more, like the punishment side or the discipline side. And then it also kind of guides you to the kind of thinking that you might want to use in order to switch sides if that's what you'd like to do. And ultimately, that's your choice. It's not up to me or anyone to decide whether you're going to punish your child or discipline your child. So, that's not what this is about. This is about if you're ready and you want to guide your child to behave in a way that is going to help them in their life ahead, then this is how you would do it. Okay? So here are the questions, and you get these on that gift page. A discipline question would be, am I trying to guide my child towards making a good decision? So when your child is pushing your buttons and you're getting very frustrated, sit down and eat right now, you can say to yourself, am I trying to guide myself towards making a good decision? Or punishment, am I trying to get my way, teach a lesson, or save face? Because we do a lot of things to save face that you wouldn't even necessarily pick up on because you don't always know that that's what you're doing in the moment. But later when you look back, you go, you know what? Yeah, he hurt my feelings when he said that. Or the way he treated me, I was embarrassed. That means that you're trying to save face. So tuning into that means that you can now choose to behave in a different way. All right. Second question, am I calmly yet firmly delivering a pre-planned consequence? I tell you, if you want to use discipline, have some pre-planned consequences, have them in place so that you can easily use them and not let emotions take over. And the punishment question is, am I allowing my emotions to influence the severity of the consequence? Because, I remember once where I told my youngest that I was going to take his birthday away because I was getting so fed up. I was just at my wit's end, and I'm like, okay, that's it. Your birthday's gone. Like, because my emotions had taken over, and he wasn't paying attention. He wasn't listening to me. So I went for total severity. You can't take a birthday away. It turns out you can take away their party and stuff, but yeah, even that, you're probably going to give it back. So don't go there if you can. If you can learn from me, don't do it. The third one, am I providing my child with information he can use to help him make future decisions similar to this one? So again, am I teaching him how to think so that if I'm not there and he has to make a smart decision, does he have the ability to do that? Am I helping him to learn that? And the punishment question would be, am I demanding my child do what I say because I'm the adult? As long as you're under this roof, you will do as I say because I told you to do it. These kinds of things are punishment model. Okay, very common. So don't come down on yourself if you're using these things. Just start to recognize them. Would I be okay using this tool exactly as I am right now if an adult who I like and admire and want to impress is watching me? Really think about that one, because that's actually one of the tips that I like to teach people to help them take that objective viewpoint, to behave in a way that feels good for them. So, the punishment would be, would I quickly change tactics if this person were watching? If I was behaving the same way? If you'll only use a certain tool behind closed doors, if you'll only behave a certain way behind closed doors, then you know that tool doesn't feel really good for you. There's something about it that is off. So it's worth it to ask yourself about it. The last two, have I taken the time to deal with my emotions before talking to my child? It's fine for you to take a time out to say, hey, you know what? I can't even deal with you right now. I need a few minutes to calm down before we talk. That's great role modeling. It allows you to get calm. And kids tell me all the time that that sometimes is the worst punishment because now they have to sit and wait. They already know they're in trouble. They've been caught, but they have to sit and wait. And sometimes they dream up some pretty amazing things in that time as to what they think is going to happen. The punishment question, can I feel emotion surging through me while I'm correcting my child? And then the final question, am I modeling the kind of person I'm hoping my child will one day become? Or is my behavior contradicting what I normally expect from my child? So if you can use these questions, maybe just choose one or two that really speak to you, write them on, a little index card, or print the whole thing out. It's not very big. In fact, the page is just it's just like that big. And so print it out. You can take the table and put it on your fridge or on a bulletin board and just have it there to remind you of the questions to ask yourself. It can be a really great way to help you shift out of emotions when you're fighting with your child and into that more objective viewpoint, which is where you'll be able to use discipline more easily. Okay, so that's a tool. It's a tool that I've created that I'd love for you to have and to use to help you tune in to when you're veering more towards the punishment side and how to help you get more towards the discipline side if you in fact want to parent that way. Now, the third piece that I just want to quickly talk about is that idea of putting this into practice, because so often we can learn a new tool, and if we don't practice it in times of calm when things are going good in our home, then chances are we won't ever use it in times of stress, especially when people are watching us. And that's in part because of the learning cycle. It makes us feel awkward, it makes us feel phony, and we don't like that feeling. And our inner critic tends to pipe up and, you're doing it wrong. You ever sound stupid, and these kinds of things start coming up for you. And so you're best off, if you truly want to start using this, start asking yourself these questions, even when you're just explaining something to your child. Or maybe your child comes over and, Mommy, my shoe fell off. And rather than right away just taking their shoe, putting it back on, Velcroing it up and saying, okay, off you go, maybe you want to think about, okay, how am I guiding my child right now? So what are you going to do about it? You might say to your child instead. Or, oh, okay, so what happens now? You're getting them to think it through. That's part of discipline. That's part of learning, of guiding. So you can use these questions to help you in your daily interactions with your kids. You can use them even if you have somebody at work maybe who is shadowing you, or maybe it's a colleague that you're kind of leading, helping, teaching them. You can use it in a lot of different situations. And what you'll find is you'll start to become aware of how indoctrinated the punishment model is in you. And again, don't beat yourself up for that. That is a problem for a lot of us. And I know this stuff. I teach this stuff. I've raised my kids being very aware of punishment and discipline. And I still find times, especially with my pets, where my dogs aren't listening, and I find myself flipping right away into punishment mode where I just want to yell at them. I want to make them listen. And it turns out even with dogs, it doesn't work. Cesar Millan talks about keeping control of your energy so that you're just that strong, assertive energy. And really, that's what we need to do with kids, with dogs, with everyone. So you can practice it in all areas of your life. And the more you do, the more quickly you'll get through that awkwardness. And you'll get to a point where you can feel better about yourself, and it starts to get easier, and you'll find your inner critic pipes up less, and your kids are happier, and they listen to you more. This is a really cool part because they want to work with you if you're acting like you're on their team. So be on their team by helping them through discipline. So I had one other tip I was going to share. These are from my family booster shot cards, which are 52 different cards, and they're meant to just be fun activities that you can use in your family to help your kids learn and grow. And there's these orange cards. There's a section of orange cards that are all focused on helping you to. I'm just wondering now if there may be backwards on there. Anyway, they're geared at helping you to put these kinds of things into practice and make it fun time with your kids. So this one's called Protecting Your Button, and I will put the card up on that gift page so you can get the card from there if you want to be able to read it. But basically, this tool is just teaching you that if you tune in to your own triggers, what are the things that really upset you, that set you off, and then start to learn ways so that you can tune into them and protect yourself, one of the best ways is to have planned consequences for your kids, then it can change the conversation that you're having. So just as an example there with my kids, it was whining. I had a lot of trouble, and I still do, when somebody's whining. I don't like to listen to a whiny voice. So when my kids would whine, I would say to them, you know what? That particular voice, when you use it, that's called whining, and it doesn't work for me. It does not make me want to help you out or to even have you around me when you're using that voice. So when you do, I'm going to let you know and give you a chance to change the way you're talking. Now that I put that out there, I mean, that's one of my buttons, right? If someone's whining, I like, and now instead, I was able to say to them, did you want to try that again in a different voice? You know, you want to take the whine out of it, kind of thing. And I would just calmly state that. And if they didn't, I would walk out of the room, or I would, carry on doing something else. Sometimes if I was out in a public place, I might start humming, la la la. Okay, that's not humming, but you know what I mean. Just sort of singing along to myself. So my child knows I'm really not listening to you until you change that tone. And so I did that to protect myself from overreacting to what they were doing, because while I didn't like what they were doing, it's not bad. It's not the end of the world. It's a tool that they might effectively use at some point in their life. But I have to say, you know what? Both of my kids are fully aware of how whining tends to affect people, and that it doesn't really work in their favor. It just brings them down and puts them in a crappy place. Oops, there I go using that word crappy. Apparently that's not a good word to use. Sorry if I offended anybody. It's news to me. All right, so I need to wrap this up. I don't want to go too long. I just want to remind you that I will be doing another show every day this week on stuff like yelling, sibling rivalry, resiliency, bullying. If you've enjoyed this show, I really hope that you will share it with others, pass it along. Now that it's not done as a Facebook Live, it won't get the traction. So if you could help me out and share it with others, I'd greatly appreciate it. I'd love your feedback, love your comments, love your likes, love your hearts. That would be very helpful for me. I would love it if you'd go to my Mother's Day gift page, get your gift, share it with other people, get them to sign up as well, and help me to spread the word, to help people understand why they do the things they do, so that their time as a mom, while their kids are still young, can be way more fun. And in the meantime, please remember that when you notice, let's say that you're using more punishment than discipline, that's a reason to celebrate, not to come down on yourself. That's a time to say, hey, good for me, because I'm recognizing it. And that's the first step. And then when you try a tool and it feels awkward and you think, ooh, I didn't like that at all, you pat yourself on the back again and you go, good for you for trying it. And then maybe you do some little mental role plays in your mind. You picture it happening, picture you delivering it the right way. And you go, hey, good for me for practicing it in times of calm. So really be your number one support. I'll be your support as well, but I'm not there with you. So be your number one support. And then finally, rather than seeing things as not working or wrong or, oh, that wasn't good, instead, ask yourself, I wonder what's going on here. I wonder if I just need to practice it more. I wonder if I need to change what I'm doing. I wonder what my child needs most from me right now. Okay, because sometimes we're using a tool to get them to comply when really what they need at that moment is a hug or a smile or a little break with humor. That one I always put out carefully because some people don't understand how that works. But doing something goofy like, all right, put up your dukes. Come on, you want to take me? And so you break the ice. You make it funny. Don't really fight with them. That's not what I'm saying at all. But that kind of thing can be enough to stop an escalating situation. So I wish you well. Thank you so much for watching this. Thank you in advance for sharing it. Please do go listen to the podcast, pick up your gift, and I will see you tomorrow.